And welcome everybody to another edition here of the Menace Steel Podcast. Where, of course, yours truly, Charles Project Richie. As we're just getting ready to get started right now. Week 5 is about ready to be officially kicked off. Right now, as we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago, currently going on. That is on Thursday Night Football right now. The Bucs have a commanding 10-0 lead with little under 14 minutes left to go in the second quarter right now. Mike Evans for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just caught, I believe, the last scoring drive for the Bucs in that game, and we'll keep you posted throughout that contest. Today on this episode, we're going to be talking about NFL power rankings. Supposed to be having me join me here in just a moment here, Brian Diardo. He's an NFL writer for CBS Sports. We're going to be talking about the power rankings after 4 weeks. For what's going on. I'll show a little comparison contrast from his site on CBS and, of course, NFL Network right now. Lots to get into right there. And plus, we also got the Steelers right now getting ready to return back to action against the Philadelphia Eagles right now in Heinz Field. Last time these two locked up, remember, it was 4 years ago in Philadelphia in Lincoln Financial Field, where Steelers got beat down pretty convincingly right there in rookie Carson Wentz's debut against the Steelers right there. And everyone remembers how that season went on to end right there. I mean, the Steelers did end up winning the division, making a deep playoff run, but needless to say, as usual, in Philadelphia, they got their butts handed to them or were shown the door pretty early and convincingly in that game. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that right now. Plus, as everyone is aware of, too, we also got a few more spikes of COVID coming up right now. But keeping track of that as best I could throughout the NFL season. As the Tennessee Titans, if I'm not mistaken, right now, who actually has the most positive tests throughout the league right now. They are up to right now 12 players right now, and the league is definitely investigating if there should be some discipline for the way they're handling things right now. If you guys want to feel free to be a part of the Menace Steel Podcast, you can definitely follow me on social media on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, for the Menace Steel Podcast, I can be followed at Menace Steel CGR. For the Menace Steel Podcast on Instagram, it is at Menace Steel Nation. We're getting ready to get up into it a little bit sooner, and hopefully we should have Brian on soon. If not, we'll definitely we'll work something out. But needless to say, like I said, we're trying to do like a quarterly NFL power ranking. And as of right now, too, there's been a lot of interesting discussion, too, since the Steelers were kind of getting ready for their Week 4 opponent initially, which was supposed to be against the Tennessee Titans. That game had to get canceled, remember? And you saw what happened there. Not only did the Chiefs Patriots had to adjust their game, which was definitely in doubt. They were able to play Monday night. Now you also got right now Stephon Gilmore, defensive player of the year from the Patriots, the cornerback right there. He was the latest one to contract COVID right now. We got a grand total of 17 players in the league right now. About 59% more backup bench players right now who have been contracting it so far. We got about 41% starters. Those are the numbers right there. Definitely want to hear your concerns right now. Will the NFL find a way to continue their season? Will we see some missed games? Or are they going to just continue to go on and have some forfeits, make some teams start forfeiting games? If we're not hearing the COVID-19 policy, plus we're also hearing reports, too, that draft picks could be affected, too. So, I mean, those are some significant strikes right there, not just forfeiting games, but being the loss of draft picks. I definitely got to believe that's got to be an eye-opener going home right now. And like I said, I mean, Mike Tomlin's been saying all season, it's a one fail, all fail pretty much. And everyone's got to be doing their best, being lockstep with this season as they try to get the 101st season in the books to a finish right now. Trying to get a 16-game regular season. I still think they'll manage, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's definitely, like I kept telling a lot of people around here, expect it to be popping up like alarms and stuff being triggered up. So we'll get ready to keep rolling right now. as we get ready to continue to move along here in the Mass Steel podcast. For right now, we'll get to the injury report a little bit later on in the show here. Definitely, like I said, I want to hear your thoughts right now as the Steelers are looking to go 4-0 right now, which they haven't done in a long time. And right now, because remember the last time they won their last victory, they went 3-0. Last time they went 3-0 was when they won this. I mean, it was when they went to the Super Bowl and lost eventually to the Green Bay Packers. Definitely a painful memory people, Steelers fans, want to forget. But I mean, at the same time, too, it just goes to show you how special that season is right there. And you look at, I mean, everything that they've been able to do, even that 15-1 team by the Steelers back in 2004, that did not go 4-0. Remember, I think Ben Roethlisberger didn't start until like his third game in the Steelers' regular season schedule. And you see a lot how hard it is. And I'm definitely going to try and find out throughout the show when was the last time they did start off 4-0. I mean, for everything that they've been able to do as a franchise and trying to keep consistent winning football for that matter. But like I said, we are talking Steelers right now as we are looking at it, trying to get another victory against the Philadelphia Eagles right now as we look at it, a big time showdown right there. Look to see if Carson Wentz will be able to and the Eagles will be able to keep their momentum going right now as far as like getting 2 wins in a row after starting off 0-2-1. 0-2-1 is what they started off as. They're looking to try and bounce, just try and get some momentum rolling here as we look at the all-time matchup with the Steelers and Eagles going into this contest here at Heinz Field. The Steelers right now obviously have the losing record against the Eagles. They are 28-48-3. But however, when it comes to playing games at home, the Steelers in that regard are a game under 500. They are 19-20-1 against the Eagles. One playing where it's at Three River Stadium or at Heinz Field in that regard. So a game under 500 got a chance to even the score in that regard for this contest right here as we continue to look at more so than ever and try and figure out how this team is going to continue to keep their momentum rolling, try and go 4-0. Something I don't think has been done in a long time. I can't recall any time the last time they ever had that good a start for a Steelers squad and try and see what they're able to muster out. I mean, for that. But you got to believe right now, I mean, the Steelers right now, I mean, just a good sign that you have Ben Roethlisberger back. I mean, being a game-managing quarterback right now, leading this team and doing everything he can to be available and ready to go with this contest here. And like I said, it's definitely just goes to remind you, I mean, for people who are ready to dismiss Ben Roethlisberger and say, well, I'd have a talk with him about like possibly hanging up after this season if they win. I think that may be the case. I mean, you would like to think that'd be the idea right there. But at the same time, too, I mean, it's going to really prove to what Kevin Colbert's been saying all along ever since he's had his elbow surgery. He had a lot more issues addressed in that throwing elbow right there. I mean, is this going to make him a better quarterback that the Steelers have not seen in a long time? I mean, basically. I mean, we'll definitely find out, I mean, how that will start off and what they'll prove for this team. And right now, the Steelers, they happen to go 4-0. The last time that they went 4-0, I finally found it, was the last of the Steelers' 4 Super Bowls back in 1979. 1979, they started off 4-0, went out to finish the regular season win-loss record 12-4, and going on to win their 4th and final Super Bowl under the Chuck Noll Steel Curtain dynasty area right there. So definitely some good stuff right there. I mean, it'd be some great company if they're able to pull it off. 1979 Steeler fans, Steeler Nation. That's what the Steelers are looking to do for the first time. What it feels like forever. I mean, in that regard. So they go 4-0 right there. Uh, I gotta admit that'd be pretty darn special. But at the same time, me growing up here in Chicago and like learning from like the Bulls for a long time, including like the Last Dance was the biggest saying they always say, doesn't mean a thing without the ring. And we'll definitely get into that a little bit much more as we try and keep the sticks moving along here on this podcast edition here of the Mass Steel podcast right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right now on the NFL Power Rankings. Hopefully, Brian Diar should be joining us soon here. Should be joining me soon here. And we'll be able to get more in-depth coverage about where everyone starts to shake up for right now. So while I'm waiting on him, I'm going to go ahead and get into the NFL Network, NFL.com power rankings, where they have the Steelers ranking. And right now, they're at number 5 for the time being in this regard. And when we look at that right now for the NFL power rankings, according to the NFL, they're the 5th team right now. At the start of the season, prior to the first game since training camp, or the week 1 power rankings, I should say, excuse me, week 1 power rankings, they started off at number 12. So they jumped up 7 spots since then in the first 4 weeks of the season, the first quarter of the season, I should say, right there. So that's pretty good right there. I mean, considering. And Grant, I mean, they've been on their bye week forcefully right now. I mean, due to the circumstances, what happened with everything with COVID-19, and of course, mainly the Tennessee Titans players. I mean, I heard a lot of questions being asked about with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, asking him if they felt like the Steelers got the short end of the stick right now, having to have their game be canceled against the Titans, then moved up to, I mean, when we look at it, I mean, if everything would have been on schedule, the week to now week 7, which was against the Ravens matchup, well, now their game against the Bills may be in doubt right there. They may have to consider forfeiting that game. And they're asking Ben if they felt like they got the short end of the stick. Ben kind of pretty much dismissed it. I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, the only thing is you can only control what you can control right now. I mean, in these situations. I mean, you got to be really more concerned and preoccupied about how, like Mike Tomlin's always been saying, the name of the game all along is how everybody continues to like act and be responsible on and off the field. And we'll see where it goes from there, from that point. So that's all. I'm going to just check on Brian real quick. Just see if he's getting ready to hop on. So definitely like to hear your thoughts right here on this as we get into it. Brian the Arrow should be coming on shortly right now. Just had to pause the Instagram live stream right now. So here are the power rankings according to NFL Network, like I just mentioned right now. So the Steelers are in the five spot after 4 weeks going into week number 5. You got the Chiefs at the number 1 spot, which they've been claiming since the start of the season. And then the next teams, 2 for 10. You got the Packers coming in at number 2, who actually jumped up right now when we look at it, 7 spots. I mean, they're the number 2 seed after still being undefeated. I mean, they just defeated recently the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they beat the Vikings to start off the season right now as we look at it. And that's all right here right now when we take a look at it for this time as we're looking into like the Master podcast, looking at the Steelers season right now. looking at it for right now. So I got one fan to bring on here for a moment. Bringing on someone right now. We got Rosal Ball Lopez right now joining here on the Mass Steel podcast temporarily for right now. And I got Rosabal Lopez. Rosa, are you there? How you doing tonight? Hello? Hello? Okay. Hey there. If you guys ever want to like be a part of the live stream, you can definitely feel free to join me on Instagram. As Rose just tried to tempt you right there. Rose, if you want to try again, feel free. I'm getting ready to have Brian Diarlo here on just Magnitude of CBS. But definitely appreciate the follow, appreciate the support. Join here. Let's get some other storylines that are surrounding the league right now on the injury report as we go into the Steelers' Week 5 matchup, which will be their fourth game of the season coming up. As it was reported yesterday on the team when we look at it for all the guys who started off basically on the injury report, you had about, let's see, 7 starters, 8 players altogether who all did not practice. Those 8 players include the 7 stars include Ben Roethlisberger, Marquise Pouncey, Stephon Tuitt, all non-injury related. You had Deontay Johnson, who's been battling the toe injury all year. Smith Schuster with the knee, Hayden dealing with an illness, and then you have Watt with a hamstring injury. All those guys did not practice. Their only bench player who was not the starter, that's Marcus Allen. He has a foot injury. He did not practice as they get ready to go into this matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles in Heinz Field. Steelers are looking to get to even up at 500 right there as we look at it too. We also had Derek Watt on here, who also had a hamstring injury. He did not practice, so he just got added on there. Today it appears. No, excuse me, Watt. I'm sorry, I didn't miss that. So he was on there. T.J. Watt was the newest guy that got on here. He has a knee injury. He did not practice. That was on listed today. But the other guys did go on to practice today on Thursday's report, like Ben, Deontay, Juju, Hayden, and of course Pouncey to with the guys who did not practice for the second day were Marcus Allen and Derek Watt. That's where we have for those guys right now. We'll get into the Eagles another time for right now. But back to the NFL power rankings as we're taking a look at it. As we look at it, I mean, you have the Ravens right now who actually started this season right here as the number 3 seed, and they seem to be breaking even once again right now. I mean, despite the fact that Lamar Jackson has been number 1 as the top 100 player, according to the players by NFL Network on the Countdown show that just concluded this past end of July. I mean, he still finds himself in a situation where he is 0-5 career-wise when trying to overcome 10-point double-digit deficits at the end of the day. So, I mean, there's a reason for that. I mean, at the end of the day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they beat the Washington football team, and then they also beat, I want to say before that was the Houston Texans. Then they only started off beating the Browns. So, I mean, you look at how they've been starting off, I mean, their season right there. But, I mean, for just being 3-1, just being the Browns, the Texans, and the Washington football team, Basically, they only beat one playoff team, which has to be a losing team this year, which is the Texans right there. And by the way, speaking of the Texans, by the way, this fired their head coach, Bill O'Brien, right there. Bill O'Brien, who just seems like his personality was just getting a little bit more chippy. I mean, where it's just with players over time, and maybe some people within the organization. When we look at a guy who has been the head coach of the Houston Texans for about 6 full seasons, they even make 7 this year. 0-4 start. I mean, trade away a guy like DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the day. Not a popular decision. We're see clearly who's winning that battle, that debate right now, as the Cardinals. I mean, seems to be like not too bad of a position, but at the end of the day, too. I mean, you just see right now that the Cardinals at the end of the day, who still got a pretty good quarterback. I mean, in that, and when we look at, I mean, what they're trying to do. I mean, with their team trying to get something going here, and with Kyler Murray here, and Kyler Murray, who I think is a pretty decent quarterback right now. I mean, they're 2-2 for the year here. When we look at, I mean, Kyler Murray, who I think is definitely having obviously a little bit more success than Dwayne Haskins for right now. I mean, he's got a career lifetime of 27 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, 17 picks as we look at it. And this year, right now, he's only throwing through 919 yards through 4 games when we look at it. So averaging about close to 230 yards, which is not bad per game. So as we continue to go down the list here of the NFL power rankings right now. So again, we got the Chiefs number 1, Packers 2, Ravens 3. We got the Bills at number 4, who actually leapfrogged the Steelers, who took over the number 4 spot. The Steelers do move out of spot according to NFL.com just for the moment. Right after the Steelers is the Seattle Seahawks. They definitely kind of struggled a little bit this past week in Miami against the Dolphins right there. They dropped down 1 spot right now, going to number 6. Then you got the Tennessee Titans at number 7, who didn't move anywhere. Bucks jumping up 2 spots as the number 8 team. Rams at number 9 right there, doing pretty decent in their own right. I believe the only loss of the season they had was that shootout to Buffalo right there. But they definitely made a story comeback, just fell short at the end of the day to wrap up the deal. Last but not least, guess who? The New England Patriots, despite the fact that the Patriots right now at this season, I mean, it's definitely going for some growing pains. They're 2-2, but I mean, I think that's enough people to put them in top 10. I mean, simply because what a guy like Bill Belichick to do with multi-talents, play in that Patriots organization, and not only that too, you got a guy like Cam Newton, who right now we have no idea how long he's gonna be lost for. But at the end of the day, I think it just goes a constant reminder what Bill Belichick can be as a winning coach. And he's not going to let the NFL forget that as long as he's in there. I mean, he's going to go make sure just as much as Brady does, show who's going to be the race to the finish, who could still be in better playoff positioning, yet alone a Super Bowl contending team. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I mean, but I still would side with a guy like Belichick only because of the psychology he develops as a head coach at the end of the day. And you just cannot deny that right there. And let's go on some more power ranking stats right now. So I'll just read them off real quick. So we just heard the top 10. Coming in at number 11, we got the Saints. 12 is the Colts. 13 the Browns right there. Browns, by the way, I must admit, though, and I know Bob Pompiani took a shot at him pretty much after the first week of the season, after losing to the Baltimore Ravens badly in Baltimore, question if this guy was going to be a bust. I mean, at the start of the season, I mean, when we look at this guy, they were 19th to start off the year. I mean, yeah, you took advantage of the bad Cowboys defense. I get that. They'd be a pretty bad Washington football team. That's true. But I mean, at the end of the day, I gotta tell you for right now, for a team that's being 3-1 right there, imagine to keep up with the Ravens. It's still a long way to go. I mean, we've seen first quarter Browns football before for a long time within this division. But when you score about 49 points, like you're supposed to against a decimated Cowboys defense right there, I mean, that's still a huge feather in their cap right there. And I mean, you look at where they're standing right now. I mean, trying to win the division for the first time under the AFC North banner. And I think the last time they won the division, that was back in the old AFC Central days. And I want to say that was back in 1990. I mean, when we look at that. And I want to say it was either 90 or 89, as we'll find out here in just a second. But yeah, I mean, you gotta believe people in Cleveland are drinking the Kool-Aid right now. I mean, having their hopes up. I mean, with this team as they try and get ready for a resurgence. Actually, the last time the Browns won the division was back in 1989, AFC Central. They won it at 9-6-1. 9-6-1, Steelation. Here, let that sink in for a second. 9-6-1. The same record that the Steelers and the Browns, I mean, that the Steelers had 2 years ago to finish out the season, getting that tie against, guess who? The Cleveland Browns right there. So, I mean, that is something right now. I mean, they still think is a talent that Cleveland rocks. We shall see. We'll keep an eye on them. Following by the Browns at let's see, because they actually just literally, I mean, to start this season, when we look at it, they went from 19 up onto 13. So they dropped, I mean, they jumped up 6 spots in the year. Then you got the 49ers right now, who took a horrific bounce. They start off at number 2. Right now, they find themselves at number 14, dropping 12 spots for the season. Then you also got the Panthers in at number 15, followed by the Cardinals at number 16, Vikings at 17, Chargers 18, Eagles 19, Cowboys 20. No surprise there, considering the year how they've been doing right there, especially being without a guy like Leighton Vander Esch. And a guy like Skip Bayless continues to scream, until the cows come home. Why not take a chance right now? I mean, when we look at like trying to bring in Earl Thomas, I mean, does he got the baggage on him? Yes. I mean, the drama at the end of the day, but he still believes that the Cowboys should show a little bit of interest. He believes they could still give them a spark right there as far as terms of winning right there. And something that a guy like in Jerry's world that should be highly considered on the table right there. And then after that too, following the let's see the Cowboys, we got the Raiders at number 21, Bears at 22, Bengals at 23, Lions at 24, Dolphins at 25, Jaguars at 26, and the final 5. Broncos, Falcons, Texans, Washington football team, Giants, and the Jets. Jets. Welcome home, Le'Veon Bell's here. Welcome to your new team. And that's where we look at right there as far as like where they're at. Man, I don't. It is a tearjerker going on in New York. I mean, it's not just the economically a lot of stuff that's been going on right there, as President Trump was mentioning, but they have both your football teams. I mean, Giants and the Jets still be winless at this point. I mean, I feel for those fans right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I mean, you got a guy like Gelman with the Giants here, and then you also got in New York Jets right now as we look at it. I mean, who's trying to do everything? I mean, they can. I mean, when we look at it, I mean, it is definitely a sad time for the Jets franchise. I mean, when we look at under Woody and Christopher Johnson right now, then you got the chairman, Christopher Johnson, and who's also CEO. I mean, just definitely some more painful memories right now, and see when we take a look at things. And don't forget, I mean, Willie Johnson was like one of the guys who under investigation by the government for alleged racist, sexist comments right there. So you got that on his lap still. I mean, just some sad stuff happening around that franchise. I mean, it's like Stephen A. Smith would like poke fun at the Cowboys. You got a black cat running around. I think there's got to be some sort of black cat running around with the Jets. And here we go. We got Brian coming on the line right now. And ladies and gentlemen, joining me right now once again is the one and only NFL writer for CBS, Brian DiArlo. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Brian DiArlo. Brian, welcome. How's the night going, my man?
I'm doing well, Charles. Thanks for having me. I'm so sorry for the late edition. Kind of lost track of time, but very glad to be on the show with you and ready to get going.
Oh, definitely glad to have you on board, man. I was starting to ponder. Were you like, was that debate like so controversial once again? I thought you might have been like watching all of us part 2 of the vice presidential debate this time with Mike Pence and Kamala Harris. I thought you might have got lost there.
No. What? There's a second debate tonight?
Well, no, that was on from yesterday. I thought maybe you were watching like a rerun or something like that.
Oh, no. You know how it goes sometimes. I'm excited about your football and
yeah.
Interesting, Charles. I took part in Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow's press conferences earlier this week, and I know Steeler fans are focused on this Sunday's game against the Eagles, but I would definitely advise Steeler fans, if they can, to at least try to find highlights of this Bengal-Ravens game this weekend. I think this is going to be a really good game. Joe Burrow discussed this week how defenses have been attacking him early this season. He said that he's been seeing a lot of zone defense, which has allowed him to connect with receivers underneath, which I know Steeler fans know. If there's been a quote-unquote soft spot to the Steelers' defense, it's been those underneath routes. But Joe Burrow says that he expects to see man coverage from the Ravens this weekend, and he expects to see a lot of blitzes because, in his words, I'm a rookie, and they're going to want to see if I can handle it. On the other side, Lamar Jackson has not practiced the last 2 days. He said he had a stomach ache today. Yesterday, he said he had a knee problem. And I'll be honest, Charles, I think I am not entirely confident in what I've seen from the Ravens this season. I know they're 3-1, but and I know they played very well against Cleveland in week 1, and now Cleveland has won 3 straight. But I do not like where the Ravens offense is. Lamar, and he acknowledged this week, has not had success with his deep passes, particularly to Hollywood Brown. He is still the Ravens' leading rusher, which I find alarming considering they've got Mark Ingram, they've got Gus Edwards, and they spent a second-round pick on J.K. Dobbins, who really hasn't gotten much use this season. So I think if the Ravens are going to become a better team, that offense has to evolve. And their defense is good. I think Pittsburgh's defense is better. When I overall look at the AFC North in general, I think that the pecking order is the same now as it was a year ago, but each team has gotten better. I think Cleveland's gotten better. They have a big game this weekend as well, and they're not going to have Nick Chubb. So I think their game is going to be very interesting as well. And they're actually underdogs at home, which I find surprising. So I think in general, the AFC North is more interesting this year than I can remember. I don't remember the last time. Maybe 2014, when the Browns were 7-9, started 7-4. Cincinnati won the division, but Baltimore wasn't interesting at that time. And the Steelers had Brown, Bell, and Ben, and and everything like that. So, yeah, a lot to chew on, Charles. I think that the NFL is an interesting spot with the COVID situations. I know the Steelers aren't very happy about getting the short end of the stick. I know Ben was verbal about that during his media availability this week. But in general, and you never know, the Steelers might get a week off. I think the NFL might find a way to get them a week off. I would not be surprised if the NFL delayed every game a week at some point, maybe week 9 or 10. The NFL decides, you know what, we're just going to give everybody a bye, and maybe they'll go from there. But Titans have definitely made things hard for everybody. But that's there's no question there.
You know what I would do, and I had this idea, and I want to just wrap up like what you just said about the Ravens right there. I see in the power rankings on the CBS side. I just went over the NFL.com power rankings and contrast with what you guys have on CBS. I know you got your guy who's been covering it right there, Pete Prisco, who does it for CBS right now on NFL.com. They're at number 3, while NFL on CBS right now, the Ravens are number 6, and that's where they started in the beginning of the season. And I gotta say, the Ravens right now, kind of like the Lakers in the NBA, grants a different sport. They're a team who plays well when they play with the lead. When I heard the stat that Steve Young mentioned a week and a half ago that Lamar Jackson is 0-5 from deficits of 10 points or more, at some point you got to start snapping out of that.
And I think the things with the Ravens is they're a front-running team. They're a team that is like you just said, and the stats back it up, is they're just a different team if you can hang around. Now that being said, they beat the Steelers last year, albeit without Ben, in overtime, and they came from behind in that game. So maybe those stats are a little bit misleading, but I don't think they did a great job at receiver this offseason. I know they drafted 2 receivers. I know that John Harbaugh was excited about those receivers, but they haven't made a ton of big plays. And I know that's a little bit unfair to say of rookies because it's early. They didn't have, they didn't have training camp, they didn't have rookie mini camp and things like that. But to me, I thought that they should have brought in another veteran. Like obviously he's out of the league, but I'm thinking someone like an Anquan Boldin, which is what they did when they won the Super Bowl, or someone of that ilk, and they didn't do that. And I think that they were asking too much from receivers. And Marquise Brown is good, but he's had injury issues. He had his Lisfranc problem prior to being drafted. He's just a small, kind of delicate player. Mark Andrews is their best receiving target, and they don't really have any receivers that are great, or running backs that are great receivers. I mean, J.K. Dobbins' big knock at Ohio State was that he dropped some big passes in their Fiesta Bowl loss to Clemson in January or December. So and again, their defense is good, but they lost Earl Thomas. And I think people are already forgetting that. Like, they lost an all-pro, Hall of Fame caliber safety that was on the tail end of his prime, but still in his prime. And so, when you look at the Steelers, I know right now they're worried about rhythm. They're worried about potentially losing that rhythm. I think they're going to be fine. In terms of rhythm, I think the thing that would alarm me is that the Eagles are number 1 in the NFL in sacks. And, if they can get to Roethlisberger, that could be a problem for the Steelers. And I think if a team makes the Steelers one-dimensional and get pressure on Ben, they're going to have problems. And I think it's a good thing that they have so much depth at the skill positions. They don't just depend on the guy like AB like they used to. But AB was always, you could always count on him for a big catch or a big play on third down.
Yeah.
Do the Steelers have a player like that? Do they have a guy? Does Ben have a guy when it's third down where he thinks in his head, I'm going to look there? That player has to be Juju, I would imagine. Maybe Deontay Johnson at some point, but or maybe Ebron, but right now that guy has to be Juju. And if Juju wants to get paid by somebody next year, he needs to start being that guy for Ben.
let me ask you this. I mean, speaking of like the receiving core, and I know Deontay Johnson, he's been having a little bit of bad luck starting off the season. I mean, starts off the opening moments of the season with a muff punt against the Giants right there. Fortunately, the Steelers' red zone defense, which has been doing pretty phenomenal this year, which I believe is like in the top four as far as like preventing points from scoring in the red zone. But he's been having a battle with a toe injury throughout this season. Do you think that could explain like part of his struggles right there, where there's probably a little bit of hesitation? Because I know he had one punt return for a touchdown. I think that was against the Broncos, but got called back due to like an illegal peel back block. I think it was like below or above the waist in that game.
I think Deontay's fine. I just think like you said, he's had a couple of injuries. He was cleared from the concussion protocol. He's the team's number two, and arguably their number one when he's healthy. And Washington is the 3/4. Claypool. I mean, they're kind of all interchangeable. I would say that Juju is the one, Deontay's the two, and then Washington and Claypool are kind of fighting for that third spot. Which that's a pretty good receiving core, pretty deep, and I think they're in good shape there. And is it Ray McLeod? Their fifth guy that no one really thought was going to make the team prior to training camp, that had a nice camp. He's a nice option too, and he's done some good things on some teams. So, I like their receiving core. I think Johnson's going to be fine. I really like Anthony McFarland, and I know he wears 26, which obviously is going to make you think about Bell, but he just reminds me of Bell because he looks for the openings before he needs to. He looks for where he can find space before it develops, and that is second level running back stuff that Bell did in Pittsburgh, and the great running back Franco Harris did decades ago. And James Conner is good, and they're very complementary to each other. And Benny Snell is kind of a mix of both a little bit. He's obviously a lot more of James Conner, but they've got two kind of power backs with Snell and Conner. They've got kind of the agility guy in Farland, and Samuels is kind of both. I will be honest, though. I don't know if Samuels is going to finish the season on the 53. I don't know if there's room for him or a need for him unless there's an injury. I don't even know if he provides anything on special teams.
To be honest, yeah, I definitely feel like a guy like Jalen Samuels, for whatever reason, he's kind of like in the doghouse right now. I mean, for a guy who's been drafted in 2018, I mean, not so much of a high pick, but he still had pretty good rating according to NFL.com. I mean, for him, I don't really feel like
he's an interesting one, Charles. He's interesting because
I think he's still interesting on the shotgun, like some screen pass.
He's a good third down guy. I mean, he's their third down running back. I remember typically last year was the Colts game. He had a bunch of catches, and I think he finished second on the team in receptions last season, if I'm not mistaken, second or third. So, and I know with Ben as a rookie, he caught 3 touchdown passes. He had that big game against New England, which is now kind of an outlier, unfortunately. But, I mean, he's a good player. I just don't know if there's necessarily room for him. If, right now they're healthy, so they don't need to address, like, let's say that Alu got hurt. Well, now they may have to bring somebody up to fill depth at defensive line. I think as long as they're healthy, Samuel's will have a roster spot. But if there's a hole they have to patch somewhere else, I could see him being demoted to the practice squad, at least temporarily.
We are being joined here by Brian DeArl, NFL writer for CBS right now. Apparently, we're talking AFC North right now. We're going to get into some power rankings in just a moment. But one last thing on the AFC North before you pivot from that. Real quickly, I want to get your thoughts on right now. This guy's still without a team right now. For right now, he's won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Is there any way possible, any rumblings you're hearing, will the Ravens be open to like bringing a guy like Terrell Suggs back, like during the second half of the season? Would he qualify? Will there be a reunion there in Baltimore? What would be your thoughts on that?
I think if Suggs is going to go anywhere, it would be Baltimore, but I don't know if they want him. I don't know if they want him. So I think that's the question. So I will say one thing while we're talking AFC North. Joe Burrow really seems to like Cincinnati. And I know he doesn't like getting hit. I know he doesn't like their losing record. But they asked him today about Joe Mixon, and he said, I hope we can play 10 to 15 years together.
Yeah.
So now I actually want to ask you, because I think the Steelers were also interested in Mixon before they drafted James Conner. Who would you rather have, Conner or Mixon?
I think I'd probably still go with Connor at this point. I mean, I know the only problem is with Connor for right now is the availability. But I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, you see what happens when this guy uh, can't keep himself together. I mean, yeah, he's slow out of the gate, but still, I think he could still be like the guy when he plays full games. I think his scrimmage yards are just as better than a guy like Mixon. I don't think I necessarily need to have like the tough, like durable back. He could still like make just as much athletic plays right there. Like I said, I think the only problem is with him where it kind of diluted him a little bit. He's been having it late in games, like late bursts, where it's a game like the Broncos. So I'd probably still go with a guy like Connor. I like his heart. I like his drive a little bit more. Just the question, just the mental part of it. Just trying to do whatever he can to be available every week. Find a way. Because, I mean, this is a contract year for him. And to be honest, Joe, I don't think the Steelers are going to re-sign him at this point, the way things are starting. We'll wait and see. He's got a lot to prove from now on the rest of the season.
I think if he finishes healthy, they'll re-sign him. I think the nice thing about him is there's a wide range for running backs in the open market. I think.
Well, can't they just tag him?
They could just tag him.
I mean, because think about it, because he got drafted in 2017. Sorry for cutting you off, but
I don't think it's wise to tag him because they're going to spend a lot of money on him for 1 year. You could almost get him for 2 years for the price they would pay him for 1 year. I think that. So let's look at Melvin Gordon. So Melvin Gordon signed, I think, a 2-year. I could be off $1 million or something, but I think he signed a 2-year, $16 million deal with Denver. And I think 13 of that was guaranteed. I absolutely could see Connor signing a deal like that. Now, I mean, how much did Le'Veon make under the tag? 14 million or something like that?
Yeah, it was about that.
He would have had he. So in 17, Bell was making over 12. If Bell came back for 18, he would have made even more. So I think that, you don't want to spend that much on James Conner for 1 year. I mean, you could get that much on for 2 years. And I think if I was James Conner, that would be the deal. I mean, obviously he wants a 4-year, $20 million or something like that. But Austin Eckler for the Chargers this past offseason signed a 4-year, $24.5 million deal, 15 guaranteed. I mean, that would probably be the highest offer I could see somebody making Conner. And Eckler was coming off a really nice season for the Chargers, 100 all-purpose yards, double-digit touchdowns, 93 catches, almost 1,000 receiving yards, and that's a running back. So
let me ask this though. I mean, when we look at a year that we're going through right now with NFL, going with COVID-19 especially, do you feel like COVID-19 is going to affect the way guaranteed contracts are going to be handled going on right now? Because when you look at a guy, unfortunately, like a James Conner, who I just mentioned a few moments ago, runs into the issue. Listen, this guy's been a cancer survivor. I give him mad props just like everyone else does. Just like I said, the only part has been availability. Do you think this is going to affect like people in that running back market, especially, I mean, who are looking for that guaranteed security blanket right there? I mean, due to the health risks that they're going through this season. What do you say on that?
Well, I think the uncertainty is tough. And you're right. I mean, because if the salary cap is less, then you're going to have to make even harder decisions. And I think the Steelers' toughest decision is not Conner. It's Juju and Dupree. I think they'll tag Juju. I think he'll get tagged. I think Conner, they may offer. You know what? I would be surprised if they let Conner test the market. Hey, test your wares, see if you can get a better deal, and then come back. Because I don't think the Steelers are going to be in any rush. And then who knows? I mean, maybe while Conner's out, they decide, you know what, we're going to go ahead and get Dupree a deal. I think Dupree is the biggest question mark because I wonder what the Steelers – I know the Steelers are obviously very happy with his production, but I wonder how much of that is Dupree evolving and all the hard work he's put in. And how much of that is the fact that he plays outside of or alongside Watt, who also is demanding attention, and overall he's in a good defensive scheme with other good defensive players, a lot of other number one draft picks. So if the Steelers decide that he's expendable, then he'll go and they'll maybe it's Highsmith, the rookie that replaces him, or Ola. A couple of years ago, he was undrafted rookie from Toledo. They still have on the roster who's found a way to scrap and claw and stay there. So who knows? I don't think. Obviously, they can't keep everybody, so it's going to be they're going to have to make some hard decisions. I know that Watt is going to stay. I think Juju gets tagged. I think Connor and Dupree are the two biggest question marks.
Okay, now back to what I was mentioning earlier too. We're talking about. I got the top 10 power rankings right now. Just kind of be a little bit brief here. We got the Chiefs, Packers, Steelers, Bills, Seahawks. You got the Ravens coming in at number 6, followed by the Titans, Bucks, Colts, and Browns. Out of those top 10 that you guys from CBS just ranked, who's been the biggest drop-off starting off this first quarter of the season that's been disappointing so far in your mind? And has been gaining – making a lot of waves.
You're saying what team has been disappointing?
Which one has been dropping the ball lately, shockingly after 4 games, and which one's been going momentum? I'd have to say personally for right now, because with Jimmy Garoppolo being sidelined for a little bit, I'd probably have to say the Niners for right now, especially given the fact that you also lost Nick Bosa due to poor playing conditions at MetLife Stadium with many other guys, including Zach Banner, whose season is done because of the way they took care of their grass and their turf. And I probably have to say the Browns, unfortunately. Listen, I know the Browns is still a little bit early. Everybody's still holding their breath on them. But at some point, I always believe at one point, you got to start turning around your losing fortune. So I have to say one team that's impressed me, I got to give it to the Browns for right now, and then the 49ers dropping.
Everybody, this is kind of how Dallas is every year, right? Everybody.
Are you sure they don't got the Stephen A. Smith voodoo doll though with their season?
I don't pay attention to that. But the thing with Jerry Jones is he just wants to make everybody happy, in my opinion. So it's like, oh, we'll pay Zeke and we'll pay Cooper and we'll pay, but they let their best cornerback go to the Dolphins. Cornerbacks don't grow on trees. I just asked the Steelers, right? That's why they signed Joe Hayden, because they couldn't draft good cornerbacks. The best cornerback that Colbert has drafted is, Brian McFadden was good, and he's one of my colleagues now. He was fine, but it's either McFadden or Ike Taylor. Probably Ike Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Here for as many years as Troy. But neither of those guys were Pro Bowlers. So, you could argue maybe Taylor should have made 1 or 2, but neither guy was a Pro Bowler. So, I think that, Dallas made some mistakes. I think Jerry Jones was trying to make people happy, the customers happy. Ezekiel Elliott's a great player. You have to sign him for sure. But now when you look at the running back market, Zeke cashed in. He kind of robbed them, to be honest with you. Him and Le'Veon, now when you look at the rest of the running back market, those are ridiculous contracts those guys are in. Again, not saying they don't earn you. You are as you're worth as much as people are willing to pay you. I was told that once, and so obviously Ezekiel Elliott's worth $90 million, but that money could have been spent elsewhere. And they let Cyrus Jones go, as I said. Their defense is not good, and McCarthy's not a defensive coach, so I don't know if that problem is going to get fixed this season to the point when Dallas is going to be a contender. Now, they play in the NFL's worst division, which obviously is that they should make the playoffs and rebound, but they're not a good team. I think Green Bay staying in the NFC, Rodgers, I think, has 12 touchdowns and no interceptions this year. He's done that with Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard missing time. I think he just has great chemistry with his receivers. They don't have any big name receivers outside of Adams, but they have a lot of solid guys that run precise routes that Rodgers feels comfortable throwing to. Their offensive line is very good. Aaron Jones is very good, and their defense is good. They have a good defense. So, and I think that division took a step back. I don't think the Lions are any good. I kind of thought they would be because they were decent last year before Stafford got hurt, and they don't seem very good right now. I think Patricia is coaching. I think this is his last season in Detroit before they make a move. Minnesota definitely misses Stefanski, as you said, in Cleveland. They lost Stephon Diggs. I think they've taken a step back. So I think those are the two teams that I think, one went south, one went north.
I'll give you another one who's definitely going way south right there, and he'd be lucky, in my opinion, if he finishes the season, or if not fired immediately. Adam Gase, the New York Jets.
And they're a mess. I actually thought the Jets might be kind of competitive this season. They're a mess. They started 0-4 last year and finished 7-9. So, you never know. And you look at them, you look at Denver, and injuries just really killed those teams. And I don't think Gase is a bad coach. I really don't. I just think that he might not be the greatest players coach or motivator, and I think that is something that Tomlin just has in spades. I think the longer Tomlin coaches, the more respect he is garnering from across the league. Because, what other coach would you rather have outside of Belichick, who is arguably the great? I don't ever say Belichick's the greatest. I'll say arguably, because it's like the LeBron conversation with Jordan. My godson, who is 17, so he never saw Jordan play, asked me the other day, who is better between him and LeBron? And like that, to me, I think they both are the greatest in their era. They're both great at different things. And I think that they both belong on the NBA Mount Rushmore. And I think we can just leave it there. And, and that's what I think about the other thing I was just discussing. So, yeah.
And just to end it real quickly, favorite topic. I know we always like to talk a lot of classic Steeler football here. Speaking of which, right now, they just announced their 2020 Hall of Honor class. This will be their fourth installment. This is their own version of the Ring of Honor, which they've never done, but just to honor great Steelers of the past. I'm sure you saw the names. We have a pair of linebackers in James Farrior and Greg Lloyd. Congratulations to those men. Then you also got two safeties on here, Troy Polamalu, Mike Wagner. A lot of people been wondering why Polamalu get there sooner. I mean, obviously he wants to keep himself distant from football and focus on his Christian life and establishing himself as a human being, which I totally respect. And then last but not least, the late Dwight White from that Steel Curtain defense right there. Your thoughts on these guys getting in this list, and who do you think should have got in there a lot sooner out of the names I just mentioned?
I'm not sure why Dwight White had to wait, especially when but I understand. I mean, maybe White was not looked at in the same ilk as Greenwood and Green, who were members of the inaugural class, but which I'm okay with. I think everybody, I'm good with it. I'm good with all of them. I mean, this one had obviously a defensive theme. And, you look at White, you look at Wagner, they were probably on the same par in terms of their importance to the Steel Curtain defense. Because when I think of the Steel Curtain defense, I was always like, to me, it was like, who are the best players on that defense? It starts with Green, and then you could argue between Lambert and Blunt and Ham. I think those are the next three in line. I would probably put Blunt number 2, but you could argue those 3. And then after that, it was Donnie Shell, Andy Russell, who was a part of the first back-to-back and then retired after.
And also part of the losing team long before Chuck Noll came in too, don't forget.
Right. He was one of 5 guys from those first teams that actually got to be on those first back-to-back teams. But yeah, I think Wagner, White, and obviously Greenwood. My bad there. I would say after the second wave there, you would throw in like Greenwood, Donnie Shell, because honestly, I thought that Greenwood. I think Greenwood really he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I got to interview Jackie Slater earlier this year. Jackie Slater and Greenwood matched up against each other in the Super Bowl, and Slater Super Bowl 14. and Slater discussed what it was like going against Elsie Greenwood. He said it was just like one of the highlights of his career. And it was just, he said that Elsie was just, I have it all written down in my computer, but he just could not say enough good things about Elsie Greenwood and how good he was. He just said everything was so tactical, and every move he made was just like perfect. So yeah, I love those two getting in. Wagner with the big interception, Super Bowl 10, just cerebral, smart, the perfect safety for the perfect defense they had. Greg Lloyd, Cowher said, Cowher told me last fall, Lloyd was the best linebacker he coached and the most intimidating player he coached in Pittsburgh. So Lloyd is clearly deserving. And then obviously the newer guys, Polamalu and Ferrier, I thought. And I think the Steelers were waiting for, Polamalu's Hall of Fame year to put him in. And I think they wanted to have him come in with a teammate. And I think obviously him and Ferrier have fond feelings for each other. So I think it's great. It's a great class, 5 guys, all defensive guys. Unfortunately, they're not going to have a huge crowd on hand probably when they get in, but they'll have some fans there. But very, very happy that for all 5 of those guys. Unfortunately, Dwight is no longer with us, but hopefully his family is enjoying the moment. Hopefully they'll be there to receive his award when they're all honored.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, hey, Brian, I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time, as always, to join on here. I know it's got to be a little bit of mixed feelings right now. I mean, watching once again, like LeBron James' greatness. I mean, Grant helped deliver a championship to Cleveland and the Cavaliers 4 years ago. Looking to wrap up his 4th, hopefully tomorrow, I would say. But I got to be honest, looking at that last game, I think they found a way to slow down Jimmy Butler. I think he's got to get back to like that 35, close to 40 points to keep any hope that they may have in that series. Other than that, I think the Lakers should be wrapping up, not 5 or 6.
37 against Boston in a game. I think if Tyler Hero got hot, they'd have a chance. I mean, I think Butler needs 30 and Tyler Hero needs 30. They'll have a chance. They need 2 guys to have a big game. I think we've seen the last of Butler having another big game. I would bang on that. I just think that, and then he's not that type of player anyways. He was for a night. And I think for sure the Lakers are pretty much gearing up to stop him. I think they threw 8D on him. They threw quite a few guys on him the other night. My question is, who's the MVP of the series of the Lakers?
I'm going with LeBron James. LeBron James, I mean, Grant Anthony Davis still has slightly more points.
He hit the big shot, though, in game 4.
I get that, but at the same time, too, LeBron James is averaging a double-double right now versus Anthony Davis. And then not only on top of that, I mean, yeah, you're talking about the entirety of the playoffs when you're talking about NBA Finals champion. It doesn't mean what you did for the finals. It's also what you're doing throughout the whole normality of the playoffs. LeBron James is also crossing milestones as far as like most points, games being played. And not only that, too, I'll give you one other bone to throw, too. 3 out of 4 games, I think LeBron James has been lighting it up slightly more so than Anthony Davis. I mean, especially in that Game 3 loss on Sunday, he still had 25 points, and where that game was being spotted by a lot of Lakers turnovers right there. And they found a way to D up on Jimmy Butler. Of course, you got Tyler Hero right there. I mean, you still got Olynyk right there, who's still not bad, sharpshooter from time to time from the 3. I just feel like right now LeBron James is catching fire at the right time. But I tell you what, I wouldn't mind making a pitch for co-MVPs for the first time in NBA Finals history. Give it to both LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I think the last time we ever see a co-MVP in a sport was in the World Series in 2001 with the Diamondbacks, Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling.
We saw it one time in the Super Bowl.
Why not? Why not the NBA? I wouldn't mind seeing co-MVPs. That wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of be fitting, teamwork. And LeBron needed AD, and AD needed LeBron.
Yeah.
AD kind of toiling away in New Orleans, and LeBron.
Don't be surprised.
Was toiling in Los Angeles. So I wonder what Laker team is the greatest of all time. Probably either the 01 team or the 87 team or 72 team. I mean, there's 3 options there.
I go with the 87. 87 simply because you had to follow up the following year with back-to-back. I mean, the last 3 rounds they pretty much were running on fumes in that back-to-back year where they won 7 games the final 3 rounds. They swept the first round, I believe it was against Spurs, but then it was the Jazz, Mavericks, and Pistons. Had to go decisive games, and 2 of those final 3 series they were down 2 games to 1. So, or no, 1 of them, excuse me. But they were down a game in the finals as well, 3 games to 2. So they really got pushed to the edge and got their endurance tested.
I think it's funny. And this is how the NBA is, because LeBron probably, I think he should have 3. I think he kind of blew 11, but then kind of had a miracle happen in 13, and then he should have won in 15, but probably shouldn't have won in 16. The Lakers probably shouldn't have won in 88, and they probably should have won in 89, because 88, Isaiah, if he doesn't get hurt, they probably lose. And then there was that phantom call on Kareem late in Game 6. No, the Lakers did come back and win in Game 7 without any official tell. So
yeah, but the Sky Pippen one was way worse than that one. No offense, I respect what Lambert's saying, but no offense, that wasn't as controversial as Pippen's was against the Knicks right there. That was a game right there. The Bulls could possibly beat out the Knicks for third straight year at that point. Yeah. I mean, even though it was without Jordan, I think that was way worse, to be honest with you. But I will say, with back to LeBron, if Anthony Davis was with him on one of those Cavs teams against KD and the Warriors, I think they'd split at least those final 2 championships. They had one more ring, people, in my opinion.
I wouldn't be surprised there, man. I agree with what you're saying, for sure.
Brian, well, once again, thank you very much for joining me. You guys can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Brian Diardo. Writes online for CBS. Check out his many articles and his interactive streams as well. Brian, always a pleasure having you. Stay safe, man. Enjoy the rest of the files, and look forward to talking more football with you down the road.
Absolutely, Charles. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Talk to you, buddy. Have a good one.
Likewise, my man. Thanks for the support. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye. And once again, that was Brian Diardo here, wrapping up here on the Menace Steel podcast right now. And that's all I got for tonight. No fair or foul for this evening, but we'll be returning, and I'm going to announce right here, I'm going to be having a schedule change coming up here on the Menace Steel podcast until I get things figured out. So I'm going to start changing it to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time going forward. So just want to make an announcement. So if you guys don't see me at 6:30 p.m., it's going to be at 8 o'clock, so expect me around that time. And I just wanted to say thank you for all those people who continue to provide the support for me during these streams. This is Charles Praj Ritchie here at the Menace Steel podcast signing off. You can follow me once again on Twitter and Instagram at Praj Ritchie. The Menace Steel podcast on Twitter, it is at Menace Steel CTR, and on Instagram at Menace Steel Nation. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.